It's maybe something you've heard about in the movies or tabloids, but prenuptial agreements, they can be very important before you tie the knot. And here to tell us more about it is Attorney Lashandra Peoples-Johnson with Johnson Cephas Law here in town. Good morning, Lashandra.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, you know, prenuptial agreements, a prenup, let's start by defining what that is in Oklahoma.
So a prenuptial agreement is a contract or agreement before marriage between the parties to be married. It defines the sharing of finances during the marriage, as well as the division of assets or accounts in case of a divorce.
I think everybody's situation is obviously different, but do you find people have perceptions or preconceived notions of prenups? Like, oh, I don't need that, or oh, I would never want something like that.
Yes, the perceived notion is that it's for people who have a lot of money, people who are rich, who are famous, who have what they call clout. And so, but that's not true. It turns out that, you know, previously people would get married earlier when they really didn't have a lot of assets and a lot of things to bring to the table. However, now people are establishing careers, and so they want to make sure that all of their hard work is protected and that the person they're marrying is marrying them for the right reasons.
Right, and you know, I'm interested because I'm sure every state's different, but I mean, talk about the validity of prenups. I mean, they are valid. It's a thing in Oklahoma, right? And it's a very, is it common? What would you say?
So they are semi-common, and it is very valid and enforceable in Oklahoma. The requirements are that it has to be in writing, and it has to be free of duress, fraud, or coercion, and both parties have to have a full disclosure of the assets they actually have.
And what does that look like? Are we talking about bank statements, pay stubs? I mean, typically when you're talking about the full disclosure, is that something I would assume you're going to need a lawyer to make sure you have everything?
So first, you want to be able to be honest, because you don't want to say, hey, I have, you know, $10,000 and you really have $1 million somewhere. So a lot of times you do have to have proof of bank statements. If you have a trust, you want to see like what that amount is. If you have a 401k, just different things, you want to kind of see exactly what that fully looks like for each person. And then we talk about consulting an attorney, yes, but it's important to have separate attorneys because each individual has an interest in this. You want to make sure you have your own attorney to advise you of what's best for you.
And I would imagine it can maybe feel awkward. Like, okay, before we get married, you have your attorney, I have mine, we're going to get together. But like you said, this can be for people in all walks of life, at different income levels.
Yes.
And that's really interesting. Do you have to find part of being a lawyer, do you find part of it is breaking through the psychology and the barriers of like, hey, I know this feels awkward, but...
Yes, and then just telling them the benefits. So like one of the benefits of having a prenuptial agreement is that it clearly defines the financial state of each individual and the marriage as a whole before you go into it. And then also you talk about those financial gains. If we have this big influx of finances, what happens if we get divorced? Who gets what? How is it divided? It's sometimes nice to have that discussed up front, just in case. Yeah,
we have a graphic here. I just wanted to kind of help people guide through what we've been through. So, you know, what they can do. What can't they do? What are some things that it's just like, this is not what a prenuptial agreement is?
So something you cannot do is pretty much deal with children. So you cannot deal with child support. You cannot deal with child custody or decisions around the child. And you also cannot define marital roles in a prenuptial agreement.
We also have that third point. You had mentioned it earlier about enforceability. So there are laws, of course, on the books everywhere. Are they enforceable? Talk about how something like this would be enforced, a prenup in Oklahoma.
So yes, they are enforceable. So what they're going to check to see is that one, it's in writing, and one, that has the full disclosure of the assets, and that it's free from what I talked about, the coercion and duress, to make sure that you willingly agreed to come into this agreement with your partner.
With prenups, tell me a little bit about what people are in for in terms of, do they have to go to court? Can it be both of their lawyers meeting? Is it have to be before a judge? What's kind of that deal?
No, so both parties can get with their attorneys and they can come to an agreed agreement where they come together with their terms, they write it up, and then it's submitted.
Okay, well, Lashandra Peoples-Johnson, thank you so much. And once again, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again in the new year.
Thank you.